Hare Krishna. So we continue to study chapter 1 of the Bhagavad Gita. So far we have seen Duryodhan's perception of the battlefield. We saw that this chapter is titled Observing the Armies. So there is going to be examination or nirikshana. Two points of views are being presented. One is Duryodhan's perspective and second is Arjun's perspective. So we saw how the diplomatic Duryodhan is trying to incite anger in Drona, is trying to remind Bhishma of his past mistakes, is trying to pull in other warriors. So, using all means of diplomacy, he's trying to cover his insecurity by being diplomatic to different members of his party. Yeah, but we have seen that those those confusing words, those words which can be interpreted in different ways, they only express Duryodhan's deepest fears and insecurities. He's not able to hide them even by making a show of diplomacy or confidence. So it's a mindset of greed, fear, and insecurity. And he's perceiving everyone, including his grandfather, including his guru, he's perceiving them on a utilitarian basis of what value are they to me, right? We saw that. So this is Duryodhan's perspective. And now, beginning verse 21, we will see how does Arjun see the same situation. Let's look at the verse. Verse 21. Arjun Uvacha Senayor Ubhayor Ratham Sthapayamechyuta Yavan Etan Niriksheham Yodhokaman Avasthitan. So here and the next verse as well, 22. कैर्मया सह योद्धव्यम् अस्मिन् रणसमुद्धये योत्स्यमानम् एवेक्षाम् ये एत्यत्र समागताः धार्तराष्ट्रस्य दुर्बुद्धेर्युद्धे प्रिया चिकीर्षवः. So in these three verses, Arjun is saying, at that time, Arjun, the son of Pandu, seated in the chariot bearing the flag marked with Hanuman, took up his bow and prepared to shoot his arrows. We saw this in our previous discussion. He was ready to fight. Yeah, he's ready and point with his bow. O king, after looking at the sons of Dhritarashtra, drawn in military array, Arjun then spoke to Lord Krishna these words. And verse 21 and 22. Arjun said, O infallible one, O Achyuta, please draw my chariot between the two armies so that I may see those present here who desire to fight, with whom I must contend in this great trial of arms. And verse 23, let me see those who have come here to fight, wishing to please the evil-minded son of Dhritarashtra. So here the battle is just about to begin. And we saw on blowing of the conch shells of the Pandavas and also on just observing the arrangement of the Pandava armies, the Kauravas were disheartened. Yeah, they were like, this is very overwhelming. So here, Lord Krishna is addressed as Achyuta by Arjun. It's very significant. What do we mean by Achyuta? Achyuta means infallible. Infallible means implies one who doesn't fall or whose status doesn't decrease, reduce. So what is Krishna not falling in? Yeah. He might become a chariot driver of his devotee, but he is still the supreme personality of God. That is how he is Achyuta. He has affection for his devotees, and that affection controls him. So he can take the role of a servant of his devotees. But that doesn't reduce his position as God. So God is Achyuta, and being Achyuta, he can take up on any role. That doesn't affect his divinity. That only demonstrates his bhakta vatsalyata, his love for his devotees. Yeah, so we should not think, oh, if somebody, reads this using a social commentary lens, they'll say, oh, who was Krishna? He was just a driver in the Mahabharata war. No, he is Achyuta. He accepted that position without compromising on his position of supreme godhood. In all circumstances, he is Rishikesha. Rishikesha means we have discussed the director of senses. So that's the sweet relationship between the Lord and his servant. Just like a devotee wants to serve the Lord also wants to serve his devotees. This is the nature of love. Both parties want to serve each other. And there's similarly, Krishna is always looking for some opportunity. How can I serve my dear devotee Arjun? So he's taking pleasure in that. And Arjun is telling him, Krishna, please take my chariot to the center of both the armies. So actually, Arjun is giving orders to Sri Krishna. But if that person is a devotee, Krishna loves getting such instructions and orders. And oh wow, I've got an opportunity to serve my pure devotees. So we will see in the following verses, Arjun is going to express that he has no desire to fight. Now, there are many layers to it. It's a very important discussion today. So please note the nuances in Arjun's situation. It's not an ordinary case of dilemma or depression. There are many layers of morality, of tradition, of dharma. So it's a layered situation that Arjuna is in. So Prabhupada says, why did he not want to fight? Because he's a pure devotee of the Lord. Number one, he's not an ordinary person. He's a pure devotee of the Lord. And a pure devotee naturally has compassion. So he did not want to fight, but he was forced to come here because Duryodhan was refusing any peace proposal. He was not ready to negotiate at all, not even to give 5 villages. So, because there was no other means to reconcile, therefore, Arjun was helplessly forced to enter the battlefield. It was, in fact, the doing of Duryodhan and Dhritarashtra that they could not negotiate. And once you're on the battlefield, like we saw in verse 20, Arjun is prepared. He's come prepared to fight. And this is just one of many wars Arjun has fought. He's not come on the battlefield thinking of making a peace proposal. That phase is over. Yeah. He just wants to see who have come to fight. How much are they bent upon demanding an unwanted war? It's an unnecessary war, but because they're so obstinate, they are not ready to let go of even 5 villages. Therefore, we have to resort. The final resort is this battle. So, what is the significance? Why is Arjun asking Sri Krishna to take his Rath in the center of the two armies? It's very important when we are, anyway, whatever we do for a cause, we have to examine, yeah, am I doing it because I identify with one party? He wants to be free of bias. He wants to come to a neutral place of seeing. Let me be at equidistance from both the sides. Otherwise, I'll think I am on this side, therefore, that is a good enough cause to fight. The other party will also think like that. But the middle space signifies Arjun wants to do a neutral examination. He wants a pause. Yeah. And basically, we need Krishna in the center when we have such conflicting duties. And he wants to see who have come to fight with him. He's not, did you see how Duryodhan was viewing Pandava army? Bhima Arjuna Samayudhi. he did not care the individual personalities present. He was just comparing how much strength have they brought to the battlefield. And because he knew the measure of strength of Bhima and Arjun, he was comparing it to theirs. So for him, the army, the opposite army is just a number, it's just a strength. Arjun is different. First difference in his Nirikshana is that he is personal. He is valuing individuality. Yeah, we're not just reducing the enemy, our enemy. Who is that enemy? Let me go and see them. Yeah. And interestingly, it's good that it gives you a neutral perspective, but also when you take things personally, there is the scope for attachment, which is exactly what is going to happen. So it's good to be compassionate and see neutrally, clearly. But beyond compassion, we also need wisdom. And that we will see in chapter 2. So, what is this signifying? Arjuna is personalizing the situation. He wants to see who are the ones who have come to fight. Yeah. So, it's good to not, just reduce the army to a abstract idea. Yeah, there's some soldiers. Who are they? But the risk is that if you make it personal, there is also scope for attachment, and then you might end up in sentimental paralysis. So both are dangerous. Uh, Impersonal attitude and sentimentalism both are extremes which we have to avoid in any conflict. And Arjuna is, he is recognizing Duryodhana as Durbuddhe. Durbuddhi means his intelligence is warped up. His intelligence has become twisted. Therefore, he cannot think straight. Although Arjuna is able to see that Duryodhana is in the wrong, still, as we will see in the following verses, he's not able to get out of his confusion. He knows it's Duryodhana's fault, but still he cannot save himself from landing into a confusion. So, what does it signify? It is not sufficient just to know that the other party is wrong. We also need clarity on our own dharma. I know the opposite party is wrong, but do I know myself? Do I know my dharma? That will help us from any confusion and conflict. Okay. So Prabhupada says here that Duryodhan wanted to usurp the kingdom of Pandavas by evil plans. And we have discussed there's so many attempts to murder the Pandavas by Duryodhan. And Dhritarashtra was complicit in all of it. Yeah, it was in collaboration with his father Dhritarashtra. So it means Dhritarashtra is complicit, Duryodhan is adharmic. That means those who have come to support them, they must also be of the same nature. Otherwise, why would they support such an adharmic king? So they are birds of the same feather. So Arjun was trying to see who are they? Who are these adharmic? Who are these people who are siding with adharmic people? So he wanted to make an estimate of the strength. That's the role of a king, to make an estimation of the enemy's strength. Not that he was in doubt. He was sure that victory will be theirs because Krishna is on their side. But still, as a Kshatriya, he wanted to make an estimation of the opposite army. Okay, so we also saw in these set of verses the beautiful meaning of the word Achyuta, that your affection for your devotee will never deviate. You'll always be affectionate to your devotees. That's an unwavering principle. Okay, so everyone is now assembled. This verse uses the words Yodha Kaman. They have come here desiring to fight. So understand the starting state. So Arjun is trying to observe who are these friends and relatives in whose company I will fight. My side and those friends and relatives against whom I will fight. Yeah. So everyone here is intent on fighting. Yotsyamana. They have come to engage in a battle. So we are ready to begin the battle, and this is the situation Arjun is. This is nicely depicted in this situation, the significance of Arjun requesting Krishna to take his chariot at the center, that we need a dispassionate observation, that Arjun wants to see with whom I must fight. Yeah. And he's not reducing the enemy to just one category. He wants to see who is comprising this enemy. And Krishna is the infallible guide, Achyuta. So he is leading Arjun in this attempt. So Krishna is placing the chariot precisely. Yeah, and he's placing Arjun's chariot not in front of any anonymous soldiers, but right in front of Bhishma and Drona. Yeah, he's not protecting Arjun from pain. He's in fact exposing his weakness. Exposing Arjun's weakness. That's the first duty of a guru or a teacher. Not to appease, but to expose one's weaknesses. Because only from there can teaching begin, right? So he's clearly exposing Arjun's attachments here. Let's read the next verse, 24 and 25. Sanjaya Uvacha Evam Ukto Rishikesho Gudakesha Bharata Senayorubayor Madhye Sthapayitva Rathottama Bhishmadrona Pramukhatah Sarvesham Cha Mahikshitam Uvacha Partha Pashyaitan Samavetan Kurun Iti. Sanjay said, O descendant of Bharat, having thus been addressed by Arjun, Lord Krishna drew up the fine chariot, Rath Uttama, the fine chariot in the midst of the armies of both parties. Yeah, the, this center of neutrality that we spoke about. And next, 25th verse says, in the presence of Bhishma, Drona, and all the other chieftains of the world, the Lord said, just behold Parth, all the Kurus assembled here. So Shri Krishna is doing it very intentionally. He knows what are Arjun's attachments, and it is in his interest to expose those attachments to him so that a growth journey he may pursue a growth journey thereon. So Prabhupada starts by explaining the significance of the word Guda Kesha. Yeah, so Gudak means sleep. It also means ignorance, tamo. So one who has conquered ignorance or sleep is called Guda Kesha, Isha, the controller of sleep or ignorance. So Arjun conquered both. One, because he was a relentless fighter, and also because he was Krishna's friend. So he had overcome ignorance. Why? Because what is the state of samadhi? To constantly remember Krishna. Madchitta madgata prana. To constantly think of Krishna. Nityabhiyuktanam. So he could not forget Krishna even for a moment. He constantly thinking of Krishna's name, form, qualities, pastimes. That is called Krishna consciousness or samadhi. Samadhi, as we have understood, it takes us to a transcendental platform. Coming in touch with what is transcendental also makes us transcendental. Vishuddha Sattva. So that is how Arjun was Gudakesha. And Krishna is called as Rishikesha because he is the director of everyone's mind and senses. So Arjun, as Gudakesha, is a perfect qualified candidate to receive this message. And Sri Krishna as Rishikesh is the perfect teacher of this message. And Rishikesh means he knows everything. If he is the controller of everyone's mind, He knows what what's going on in the mind of every living entity and also of Arjun. So he's intentionally understanding where Arjun is coming from, and he's placing his Rath right in front of Bhishma and Drona. Yeah. And because Arjun was his nephew, in his mother was his Lord Krishna's aunt, Kunti Devi. So in that sense, he agreed to be the charioteer of Arjun because in one sense they're related. So this presents the understanding that why is when Krishna, uh, you know, takes instruction from Arjun and places his chariot, he is doing it out of love. That's the point here. So these verses reveal the Bhakta Vatsal nature of the Lord, the sweetness of Krishna. He's being controlled by his devotee. He is Rishikesha, but he's being controlled by his devotee's instruction. And he's also, we discussed, he is Achyuta. He might take orders from his devotee, he might become a servant of his devotee, but he still remains supreme. So this is bhakti theology. Bhakti means even when Krishna is controlled by prema, he's still the supreme. Why? Because Krishna is not just about supreme power, he's also about loving relationships. So he's controlled by prem, but he is still the supreme. Otherwise, if we become someone's servant, so our position has been compromised. That doesn't happen with Krishna. He's Achyuta. He's Avyaya, inexhaustible, infallible. So we should not, project our material limitation on Krishna. So this is the beauty and essence of spiritual life. Spiritual life starts with obedience to God, but it culminates in a living relationship with the Lord. Yeah, for anyone who's sincere. Okay, so let's look at the next verse. So here, Sri Krishna is telling Arjun that, yeah, behold all these Kauravas who have assembled here. Yeah, he exactly knows that seeing Bhishma and Drona will trigger Arjun's crisis, and he doesn't want to protect Arjun from pain. Yeah, he wants him to confront the reality. That is how teaching begins. Somebody who is a genuine well-wisher or teacher, they would not want you to hide from the reality. They would want you to face the reality, right? So if somebody is just appeasing audiences, is just pandering their egos, that's not teaching. So any form it takes, it should not be broad-based appeasement or soothing your ego. Yes, yes, you are right. What you did is right. You need more love. Fine, but are we hiding from reality? So Sri Krishna first exposes his attachment and then he helps Arjun come out. That's how mentorship works. Okay, so what does Arjun see after being placed in that position? Very interesting. Verse 26. Tatra pashyat sthitan partha pitrin atha pitamahan acharyan matulan bhrartrin putran pautran sakhims Swashuran suhridaschaiva senayoruvayor api. There Arjun could see within the midst of the armies of both parties. He's taken a neutral point of view, and in both the parties, he's seeing what? His fathers, grandfathers, teachers, maternal uncles, brothers, sons, grandsons, friends, also his father in laws and well wishers. So he's seeing all kinds of relatives on both sides. So this is not an easy situation. There were some like elders, those of his father's contemporaries. Some were like his grandfathers, Bhishma. There were teachers like Dronacharya, Kripacharya, and there were his maternal uncles like Shalya and Shakuni, his brothers like Duryodhan, sons like Lakshmana, friends like Ashwatthama, well-wishers like Kritavarma. So basically, he's saying both the armies contain my own relatives, Swajana. Yeah. And what happens to Arjun? 27. Tan samiksha sakaunteya sarvan bandhun avasthitan kripaya parayavishto vishidan nidamabravit. When the son of Kunti Arjun saw all these different grades of friends and relatives, he became overwhelmed with compassion and spoke thus. Kripaya, Kripaya means compassion. Parayavishto. Parayavishto means superlative amount of compassion, overwhelmed with compassion. So we are seeing here that now it's not just how was Duryodhan's perspective for him? It was just an enemy. But Arjun, because he wants a personal view, the army ends up becoming the family. Because of his perception, he's not seeing enemies now. He's not seeing who do I have to combat. He's seeing relationships. Yeah. So he's definitely being human. He's humanizing the enemy, but it is spiritually incomplete. Therefore, it is leading to confusion. So we will see what is the mistake. A good thing that Arjun does is that he is humanizing the opponent. But what he leaves out is dharma. Just by biological connection and social relation, you cannot decide dharma. Social concerns and biological connections may be good, they might make us human, but dharma is much more than just being human. Yeah. So if the same person is your grandfather and is also an obstacle to dharma, then then that is a conflict. So you cannot just stop at humanizing. You also have to see the divine will. That's the point. So it is good. Arjuna is seeing relationships, is seeing personalities, but you have to interpret everything through the higher lens of dharma. Otherwise, it is just another form of attachment. As Prabhupada says so often, it is extended ego. Yeah. Because selfish ego is about me. Extended ego is for those who are bodily connected to me. So here he becomes, completely confused. And we'll see acharyas say that Sri Krishna put him in that situation so that the Bhagavad Gita could be spoken. So Arjun's compassion is good. It's commendable, but because it's not complete, yeah, therefore we need to see this situation. So we are seeing that Arjun's vision shifts from generic category to personal, but he's still not adding the lens of dharma. Therefore, he is going to end up in confusion and grief. Now, Srila Prabhupada says in the commentary to purport 28 that it's natural for anyone who is a devotee that all good qualities reside in them. Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavati akinchana. Sarver gunair tatra samasate sura. Yeah, that a devotee has all good qualities, and a non-devotee, although they might have material qualifications, but they lack good qualities. Why do we say that? Because if one is not living on the fleeting frame of the mind, if one is living on the steady, firm faith in the creator and controller, Ishavasya Drishti, they will have good qualities. But if somebody doesn't have an Ishavasya Drishti, but they are just having some mental, you know, ideas. Okay, I should be charitable, I should be honest. These virtues will not last because they don't have a strong basis. There is no fundamental ground to them. Today, manorathena hi dhavato bahihi. That means your good qualities in a non-devotee are, if they don't, accept and surrender to God, where are the good qualities coming in them from? From their mental conception. Today they think doing something is moral. Circumstances change, attitudes change. Very soon you might see them doing the exact opposite. And they'll justify it. They'll say, no, now I think this is the right thing to do. So somebody who's hovering on the mental platform cannot be steady, and steadiness is required to demonstrate good qualities. But if somebody is devoted to God, from that steadiness, these sustainable good qualities emerge. So Arjun, being a devotee, he is naturally compassionate. He has compassion for his own army, definitely, but he even now has compassion for the opposite side. Why? Because he's seeing people are going to die. It's not just like a legal battle that there's going to be involvement of resources, time. It's around death. The people I see here on both sides are related to me, and you know, inevitably they are going to die. So Arjun says, no, it's not worth it. His heart is overcome by compassion, him being a loving, pure devotee of Krishna. So he sees literally, the whole community, all his blood relatives had come to fight for him. It's inconceivable. There are some teachers who, when they are teaching this section of the Bhagavad Gita, just to demonstrate the kind of pain and sinking of heart that Arjun is feeling seeing his relatives, they ask the students to get pictures of their loved ones, and then they post those pictures on a dartboard. And then they ask the person to throw darts on the pictures of your loved ones. And the students hesitate. So if throwing a dart is so difficult, how much more serious? In fact, it's fatal. Shooting of arrows with the intention of killing. There is no second chance here. So Arjun is overwhelmed. Prabhupada says it's not mentioned here, but he was also crying out of compassion. So please note, there are some points which are favorable. Arjun's position is presented in favorable light, that he's a devotee, he's compassionate, you know, he is soft-hearted. And a devotee naturally has good qualities, and being sensitive, empathetic, soft-hearted is a devotee, is a characteristic of a devotee, so nothing is wrong. Yeah. But Arjun was put into this illusion, which is going to come, Vishada. Yeah, just to make him think that his duty is conflicting with dharma. It is not, his duty was to fight. He was put into an illusion that his duty of fighting is going against dharma. So he is, it's a twisting of the philosophy of ahimsa, basically. Because in the Shruti, in Chandogya Upanishad, there are injunctions. Ma himsayat sarvabhutani. Do not commit violence against any living entity. The Shrutis say this. So Shrutis present non-violence. So a distortion of the non-violence philosophy was used to put Arjun under an illusion. So there could be a pretext on which Sri Krishna could share this message of the Bhagavad Gita for all of us for all times to come. And let's look at verse 28 and 29. Arjun Uvacha Drishtveva Mam Swajanam Krishna Yuyutsam Samupasthitam Sidanti Mama Gatrani Mukham Cha Parishishyati Vepatushcha Sharire Me Romahashascha Jayate Gandivam Samsate Hastat Tokchaiva Paridhadyate. Arjun said, my dear Krishna, seeing my relatives and friends present before me in such a fighting spirit, I feel the limbs of my body quivering and my mouth drying up. Have you been in such situation? My whole body is trembling. My hair is standing on end. My bow Gandiva is slipping from my hand, and my skin is burning. So Arjun, he's paying a huge price for his soft-heartedness. So his compassion is real, but we saw there is also what should follow compassion or what should support compassion is wisdom. And so compassion must be guided by truth. Otherwise, it just becomes sentiment and avoidance. That's all. So this is misplaced compassion. Kripaya Avishta. Definitely is overcome with Kripaya compassion, but is that compassion supported by truth? No. Is it sentimental avoidance? Probably. So then it can become an obstacle to your dharma, to performing your duty. So we are not denying the virtue of compassion, we are demonstrating Arjun's incompleteness in his understanding in this point of time. Arjun in chapter 1. So basically, it should be a balance of both kindness and responsibility. We don't be so kind that we get into avoidance. That is, we are running away from responsibility. That is not what Dharma tells us. And the shock that he's experiencing in his mind and his heart is demonstrating in his body. These stress, anxiety, fear, insecurity, this is all psychosomatic. What is in your mind will demonstrate or will be displayed in your body. So, what's the word used here in verse 28? What is the trigger? Swajana. These are my own people. That makes Arjun collapse. There is so much emotional power in that one word, Swajan. ये तो मेरे अपने हैं. It's okay if they must have done adharma, but they are mine. So there is a head-on conflict between affection and duty for Arjun. Yeah. His duty is to establish dharma by attacking those who are criminal. But he is also having affection for those who are criminals. So basically, um, he is in extreme anxiety. He's not able to decide. So definitely he is under anxiety and fear. But that is the emotion. Emotions are mostly symptoms. If somebody asks you how you're feeling, I'm feeling fearful, I'm feeling anxious, you cannot just, make the symptoms go away. It's like, blowing air on the boil on the skin. That's not how you treat a disease. You find out the root cause of what led to those symptoms. So what is happening deep within Arjun? That his values are conflicting. Empathy, duty, affection, responsibility. So the value conflict is creating all those emotional symptoms. So much so that he's saying, I cannot function. Now, let's look at what Prabhupada is saying here. Arjun's symptoms in this situation are out of material fear. There is anxiety, there is fear. But what that degree of fear? Death is involved here. We have fear of losing our job, we have fear of rejection. Imagine the fear of death. I might not exist. Those who I love may not exist if I take this decision. So that's unthinkable amount of fear. So all of these sensations that he's saying, Gandhi was slipping from his hand, his heart is burning, his skin is burning. These are all Prabhupada is saying, yes, on a surface level, it is coming from his soft-heartedness, compassion. But philosophically, if you look at it from a point of view of spiritual reflection, all of this are coming from a material conception of life. So this is the disease. This is the problem statement which we see being defined through Arjun in chapter 1. What is the disease of the conditioned soul of the Baddha Jiva, which is us? Material conception of life. And what is the cure? That is the Tattva Gyan, which is the rest of the message of Sri Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. So, his hands and feet have become weak, Siddhanti. His mouth has dried up. I mean, sometimes when you're so stressed, you don't realize, but your mouth dries up. Parishushyati. His hairs are standing on ends. Roma Harsha. I mean, imagine that extent of fear. This is literally a nervous breakdown, and his body is quivering. Vepatuhu. So, what does Arjun say? Verse 30. न च शक्नोमि अवस्थातुं ब्रह्मतेवा च मे मनः निमित्तानि च पश्यामि विपरीतानि केशव. I am now unable to stand here any longer. I am forgetting myself and my mind is reeling. I see only causes of misfortune, O Krishna, the killer of Keshi demon. So, he became so anxious, so fearful, so impatient, he wanted to leave. The typical flight syndrome, the flight response to a crisis, flight, freeze, or fight. So Arjun is in the zone of flight. He wants to run away. He's already in freeze. All of these symptoms are demonstrating that he is no more functional. He's forgetting himself because his mind has become weak. Why? So Prabhupada brings up this beautiful verse. Why is he anxious? Why is he fearful? The real cause of fear or the fundamental cause of fear is the material conception of life. And there's a very beautiful verse which signifies this, which comes in the 11th canto, second chapter, which is Maharaj Nimi is getting instructions from the Navayogendra. So they make this profound statement, to the king. This is in 11 to 37, as Srila Prabhupada mentioned in his purport. And in Prabhupada's days, there is no Veda base, to cross-reference wherever the word Bhaya is coming. And that's how I think of the commentators. Everything was there, it was internalized. So this beautiful verse, you can also look it up, 11 to 27. Bhayam dvitiya abhiniveshasya. What does it say? What is the cause of fear? To be absorbed in what is not real. Dvitiya abhinivesha. To be completely absorbed in something that's unreal. To drift away from reality is the cause of fear. What is that drifting away from reality? The material conception of life. So, I mean, only the first line is relevant for our current discussion, but I'll still read a part of the translation because it's so beautiful. Fear arises when a living entity misidentifies himself as the material body because of absorption, abhinivesh, nivesh, abhinivesh, because of absorption in external illusory energy of the Lord. We are so invested in Maya, in the material conception of life, that we accept ourselves to be something we are not. That is the cause of fear. When you are possessed, you think you are something which you are actually not. We have forgotten that we are Krishnadas. And that fearful situation is created by Maya. An intelligent person should engage unflinchingly in the unalloyed devotional service of the Lord under the guidance of a guru, whom he should accept as his worshipable deity and his very life and soul. So, by bhakti, by surrender to Krishna and Guru, one can overcome this misconception. So, here Arjuna is saying that, it's not just a bow I mean, you are a soldier and your identity is your weapon. That's the instrument of your duty. That itself is slipping away from Arjun's hand. So it's not just he's losing grip on a bow, he's losing grip on purpose. He's losing grip on meaning of his life. There's no, yes, have you woken up some days and you felt, what's the point? Why should I even do anything? So that is when you feel a loss of purpose. So, and that comes before one abandons duty externally. Resigning comes later. Before resigning comes loss of purpose. So when Arjun is saying this bow, and Gandiva is his identity. His whole identity is a bowman. Yeah, and that is slipping means he's losing grip on his purpose in life. So the skills are there, but the will has dissolved. So then it's completely useless. So this is what burnout means. Burnout doesn't mean the amount of work is excessive. It means amount of work has lost its connection with meaning. Therefore, you don't, it's just harming you. So yes, what do you do when you face burnout? Yeah, you rest, but rest alone is not sufficient. You need to find a purpose. You need to restore your purpose. That is how you again establish meaning and purpose in life. So here Arjuna is saying, I see only causes of misfortune. Nimittani viparitani. I see only opposite consequences. We want sukh, but we will end up getting dukh. So that is viparitani. What we are entering to war for, thinking I'll gain A, what we are going to end up gaining is opposite of A. So he's foreseeing that victory will not bring joy. Even if we win, it will not bring joy. So he's what is he doing? He's doing ethical reasoning. He's asking the right questions. It is at the level of morality and ethics. And what did he say? That my mind is Brahmati. So if somebody's mind is spinning, can you take their evaluation seriously? It's not reliable. Arjun's prognosis, Arjun's diagnosis of the situation, even though it is humane, even though it is moral, it is not reliable because it is coming from a place of a breakdown. Therefore, we say when you are in a crisis, you should not make any serious decisions because your temporary emotions will spoil your long term, will have long term consequences for what is just some short term turmoil of emotions. So we need rest and we need repurposing. Yeah, we cannot make sound decisions, especially decisions like should I fight, should I not fight? These are like ultimate decisions. They should not be made with a disturbed mind. Yeah, first, gain guidance, pray, yeah, go to some wise counsel, seek guidance, seek shelter. Then you would make decisions. Otherwise, that's the worst state to make decisions from. Would you agree? So, Srila Prabhupada says, such fearfulness and loss of mental equilibrium takes place in persons who are too attached by material conditions. So his compassion is coming from bodily identification. That is the problem. It is, although it is moral, it is empathetic, it is still coming from a place of material conception of life, looking at people at the level of their bodies. So Arjun is envisioning only painful reversals that we are not going to be happy. He only sees frustration in his expectation and he thinks, why am I here? So it's these existential questions trouble everyone, each of us at some point of time or the other. But the bigger thing is we should ask, where can I find answers to this? If our crisis leads us to finding answers to these difficult questions, then that the success of those crises. And here Prabhupada refers to a beautiful verse, yeah, from the teachings of Prahlad Maharaj, that everyone is acting in their own self-interest. Yeah, everyone is concerned about their own welfare, but they don't even know what is their welfare. They're so ignorant. Why? Because they have the disease of material condition of life. This comes in the teachings of Prahlad Maharaj, Canto 7 of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 5, verse 31. नाते विदु स्वार्थ गतिम हि विष्णु दुराशया याव ये बहिरर्थमानिना अंधा यथान्धेरुपदीयमानास् तेषापि तंत्रम् उरुदां निबद्धाः na te vidu, they do not know. Vidu means knowledge or to know. They do not know what swa artha, my interest. What is my interest? Swartha gatim. What is my ultimate goal in life? They do not know. And what is our real ultimate goal in life? He, Vishnu. To approach the Lord is our ultimate goal, but they do not know. Why? Durashayaya. They have ambitions to enjoy this world. Their asha are misdirected. They are durasha. Bahir artha manina. What is external, what is unreal, they take that to be substantial. And what is real, they give no value to it, which is the self and God. Andha yathandir upaniyamanas. So, what is the condition of such people? It is like they have accepted a leader or a guru who is as blind as them in spiritual understanding. Both the leader and the followers cannot understand that their ultimate self-interest is spiritual pursuit of understanding and surrender to the Lord. What happens, just like blind are guided by another blind leader and all of them fall into a ditch? Similarly, materially attached people led by other materially attached people like leaders, politicians, if they are also materially attached, all of them will remain bound to karma. Yeah, which is, the ropes of karma are very strong and will continue again and again in materialistic life. Materialistic life means there are miseries, there are kleshas, you cannot avoid them. So Prabhupada says people don't know their real interest. Arjun thought victory in the battle would only be a cause of lamentation for him because he's also seeing through me and mine lens. Yeah. He's not understanding what his real self-interest is. It's not that he's not understanding. He's already a pure devotee, so he understands everything. But he's put into a bewilderment where he is as if he's not understanding. Okay. So nimittani viparitani. So there is, a good mapping of what is the significance of if we have to map out compassion and truth. Compassion is good, truth is also good. But how would compassion without truth look like? And truth without compassion look like? Yeah, would that be interesting? So this is a quadrant where you can see how compassion and truth match with each other. So on the left is compassion, below is low compassion, and up is high compassion. And on the x-axis is truth. How close is your compassion to truth? Tattva Gyan. On the right is higher amount of truth. On the left is lower amount of truth. So if compassion is also not there and understanding of truth is also not there, basically blind and cold, that is the situation of the Kauravas. They are destructive, they're led by destructive greed. Remember, we discussed overcome by greed, they cannot perceive reality. So they make selfish choices and they justify those choices. So that is low truth, low compassion. If compassion is high, but truth is low, that is sentimental paralysis, the situation of Arjuna in this chapter. He's having compassion, soft-heartedness, kripaya avishta, but he is not grounding it in spiritual vision. Yeah. He's not understanding that this is sentimental paralysis. I'm ignoring what is ultimate good just because of temporary pain. Okay. If truth is high, but compassion is low, that would be very cold heartedness. I'll do my duty because this is the truth. I'll do it mechanically without any empathy. So Arjun doesn't want to end up there. He is personal, he is compassionate. So he's demonstrating these qualities which make him a very good human. So compassion is definitely high. What does Sri Krishna want of Arjun? He says your compassion, high compassion is good, but take your understanding of Tattva Gyan from low to high. That is dharmic action. Compassion has to be guided by Satya, by Dharma. Yeah. And you have to perform action as an instrument of the divine. That is the highest state of acting. So this is where Arjun is in chapter 1 and where Shri Krishna wants to take him to through this conversation. Okay, and what is Krishna, what is Arjun saying? Let's look at verse 31. न च श्रेयो अनुपश्यामि हत्वा स्वजनम् आवहे न काङ्क्षते विजयं कृष्ण न च राज्यं सुखानि च. Now he's, getting more emphatic. I do not see how any good can come from killing my own kinsmen in this battle. Swajanam. Nor can I, my dear Krishna, desire any subsequent victory, kingdom, or happiness. So, he's saying, I do not want kingdom happiness at the cost of killing my own people. So, he is not just, we are seeing, his mind is Brahmati. He's already not in a state of making sound decisions. Just 1 second. Yeah, sorry. So, we are seeing that in that crisis, Arjun is not in the best state of mind. What is he saying? This is a very crucial point. He is trying to distinguish Shreyas and Preyas. Shreyas means the ultimate good, and Preyas means the immediate gain. So that requires discernment. Will I sacrifice my ultimate good for what is immediately gratifying? From this verse, the answer is coming in chapter 3. What is what will help us give up what is immediately gratifying for what is ultimately beneficial? Yeah, that's a beautiful concept Sri Krishna will introduce in chapter 3 called Yagya. Yagya means to give up the instant gratification for the ultimate benefit. Give up prayers for Shreyas. So he's assuming that fighting is not Shreyas. Shreyas is peace. Shreyas is kindness, compassion. So he's not able to go beyond his selfish understanding, beyond his selfish attachment. He's stuck there. He's stuck at Swajana. That he thinks is Shreyas. So it might seem that he is ready to renounce, but it is just avoidance. There is difference between renunciation and avoidance. Or the situation Arjun is in is avoidance due to attachment. So whenever somebody gives up something, you should ask the question, what are we renouncing or rejecting? Are we rejecting the ego or are we rejecting responsibility itself? So rejecting responsibility is not that. Rejecting ego is what is called renunciation. So Arjuna is saying here, Prabhupada continues speaking from that verse, Nate Vidu Swartha Gati, that people don't know their self-interest is serving Vishnu. We are attracted, without knowing one's self-interest is Vishnu, is in Vishnu, we are attracted by bodily relationships, hoping to be happy in such situations. But that itself is the material conception of life. It's a blind conception of life. And they forget even the causes of material happiness. Yeah. People forget what will give them material happiness. They become so blinded by attachment. Arjun appears to have even forgotten the moral codes for a Kshatriya. What are the codes for a Kshatriya? So there is ethics, there is morality, there is humanity. So Arjun is, being confused at many levels. At the level of humanity, it's good to be compassionate, ethically, morally. But what about his dharma as a Kshatriya? There is a verse in scriptures which says a Kshatriya should never refuse a battle or a invitation to for a gambling match. Yuddha and Dyuta. These two things a Kshatriya cannot avoid. The entire identity of a Kshatriya is based on their courage. And if somebody is challenged, if a courageous person is challenged, they have to accept the challenge. Yeah, this is, in the understanding of Kshatriya in the Vedic sense. And one who accepts such a challenge, and even if in performance, even if in taking up that challenge, one dies on the battlefield, still such a Kshatriya will go to heaven. So the Kshatriya codes were so aligned. They supported courage, they supported, accepting challenges, and also just like a sannyasi who's renounced their ego, a Kshatriya who dies on the battlefield, both of them achieve the same destination. Can you think about that? A sannyasi and a warrior reaching the same destination. That was the Varnashram codes. But Arjuna is reluctant. He's reluctant to kill his enemies, forget killing relatives. So he's now presenting arguments why he should not kill. First, we saw compassion, right? Then we saw loss of enjoyment. In verses 31 to 35, he's presenting the argument of loss of my enjoyment. How will I enjoy without them? In verses 28, 29, and 30, he presented the argument of compassion. So he's saying there is no pleasure, yeah, without loved ones. What are we going to do? How will we be happy? So here, let's look at the purpose. Again, yeah, a Kshatriya should accept challenge, and Arjun is unwilling to attack his relatives. How? Just like somebody who is not hungry is not inclined to cook. Arjun saying, I don't want the outcome. Why should I put in the effort? I'm not motivated. So he's saying, I better go to the forest. If I'm not hungry, why should I take the trouble of cooking? Similarly, he says, I do not desire any subsequent victory, kingdom, or happiness. Na cha rajyam sukhani cha. Nahi chahiye rajya, nahi chahiye sukh. So he's acting, like a real renunciate, but he doesn't want to perform his duty of fighting. He has decided now to go into the forest and live a secluded life in frustration. Yeah, but a Kshatriya will not be able to do that. Your Swabhava will not let you be in the forest. There, your Swabhava will start making you dance. You cannot not engage in your Swadharma occupation. You have to govern, you have to administer if you are a Kshatriya. And how do you govern? How do you administer? You need land. And the only opportunity to gain land is through fighting. So he's fighting to align to his Swadharma, that's all. It's a Dharma Yudh in the ultimate sense, in the eyes of Sri Krishna. And it is also a Dharma Yudh for Arjun to earn his Swadharma back. Yeah. So and it is, a kingdom which he has to just reclaim the kingdom which he actually inherited from his father. But he doesn't want to do it. He wants to be a beggar and live in a forest like a sannyasi. Hmm. Let's look at the next verse. So, yeah, Arjun is saying, is going to address Krishna as Govinda in this next verse. Let's read verse 32. Kim no rajyena Govinda, kim bhogerjiviteena va, yeshamarthe kangshitam, no rajyam bhoga sukhani cha, taime avastita yuddhe, pranam tyaktva dhanani cha, acharya pitara putras, tathaiva cha pitamahaha, मातुलान् स्वाशुराः पौत्राः श्यालाः सम्बन्धिनस्तथा एतान्न हन्तुम् इच्छामि नातोऽपि मधुसूदन अपि त्रैलोक्यराजस्य हेतो किं नो मही कृते निहत्य धार्तराष्ट्राणां का प्रीतिः स्यात् जनार्दन. O Govinda, of what avail to us are a kingdom, happiness, or even life itself, when all those for whom we may desire them are now arrayed on this battlefield? O Madhusudan, when teachers, fathers, sons, grandfathers, maternal uncles, fathers in law, grandsons, brothers in law, and other relatives are ready to give up their lives and properties and are standing before me, why should I wish to kill them, even though they might otherwise kill me? O maintainer of all living entities, Janardhan, I am not prepared to fight with them, even in the exchange for the three worlds, let alone this earth. What pleasure will be derived from killing the sons of Dhritarashtra? So, this is Arjun's argument that this argument is the second argument of loss of enjoyment. Krishna, you are Govinda. You are the object of pleasure for cows and senses. Govinda means one who gives pleasure to go. Go can mean cows. Go can also mean our senses like Goswami, Godas. So Krishna, you are the giver of pleasure to cow and senses. So what is Arjun implying by using the word Govinda? That you should give pleasure to my senses also. So Prabhupada says God is not meant to be your order supplier. Govinda is not meant for satisfying our senses. We should satisfy the senses of Govinda, and in doing that, automatically our senses will be satisfied. Yeah. So Lord will bless you with your desires, but only as much as you deserve. If it is there in your karma, you will get it. Not whatever you desire. It doesn't work like that. But even the idea of karma is mundane. We should not expect God to be an order supplier. God is our Father. We should try to re-establish a loving relationship with Him. So we should have a desire to serve Govinda senses, Krishnera Priti, not Swartha or one serving one's own senses. Indriya Priti Vansha, Atmendriya Priti Vansha, Tare Bole Kam. Krishnera Pritivancha Dhare Premana. Serving our senses is called Kama. Serving Krishna's senses is called Prema. So yes, Arjun has affection for community and family, and that exhibits his compassion. Therefore, he's not ready to fight. He's looking at his Swajan as, you know, people in this world who I show off to. What I have, unless I show it off to those who are around me, how will I be happy? Yeah. He wants to show his opulence to his friends and relatives, but he fears that all of them will die. And then who will he show his opulence to after victory? This is a typical calculation of material life. Transcendental life is, however, different. Okay. A devotee wants to satisfy the senses or the desires of the Lord. And if you want to serve and satisfy the desires of the Lord, Krishna willing, you can accept all kinds of opulences for the service. If your intention is to serve, Krishna is giving you opulence, that Krishnas will accept those opulence and serve. If the Lord is not willing, then one should not accept a farthing. So more important is what is Lord's will. Our focus should be how can I serve and please Krishna. If he wants me to do that in a royal atmosphere, it's okay. If he wants me to do it in an impoverished situation, that's also okay. Whatever pleases you, Krishna. That's so opposite of what people go to pray for. Give me this, give me that. What about God Himself? Have you ever asked Him what would please you, Krishna? So Arjun did not want to kill his relatives. He said, Krishna, if you want to establish dharma in this world, then better you only kill them. He did not know that Krishna had already killed them. His descent was sealing the fate of all those on the Kauravas side. Arjun only was supposed to be an instrument in fulfilling Krishna's plan. He was not an independent doer. He was just a small instrument in a big equation. So Arjun did not, being a natural devotee of the Lord, he did not like to retaliate against his miscreant cousins and brothers. But it was not just about family connection and kindness and compassion. Here, the principle is about Lord's plan. What was Krishna's plan? That they all have to be finished. Why? Because they are on the side of adharma. So, devotee might excuse the wrongdoer. If somebody offends a devotee, the devotee may excuse them. But Krishna does not excuse anyone who offends his devotees. Krishna can also excuse anyone who offends him directly. But if somebody offends Krishna's devotees, Krishna will not excuse that person. Lord was determined to kill the miscreants, although Arjun wanted to excuse them. So yeah, we have seen on various instances the Kauravas tried to harm, kill, and completely eliminate the Pandavas. So Krishna cannot tolerate that. So he had already decided that they all will die, but he wanted Arjun to play the role of his instrument. Yeah, so here, having given up the desire for life, prana, and desire for wealth, dhanani, they are standing here to fight. So, if you are very merciful, Arjun, and if you don't kill them, still they will kill you and get your kingdom. Arjun says, I have no desire to kill them. Even if they want to attack me, they can attack, but I will not kill. I will not kill for the sake of getting the three worlds, what to speak of this one kingdom. So, Krishna might say, don't you think that at least the Kauravas should be eliminated because they have given you so much trouble? And if those who have given you trouble, adharmically, if they are eliminated, won't it be good? So, Arjun says, even if we kill them, it is not proper. For just some temporary happiness, if we kill our own brothers, it will lead us to hell. So Arjun is also using the word Janardhan, that Krishna, you are the maintainer of humanity. You decide. Yeah. If you want to relieve the burden of the earth, you can kill them. It's not possible for me to kill them. So Arjun is basically saying that for the very persons for whom, the kingdom is meaningful, if we destroy them, then victory will become self-defeating. Yeah, just political gain is pointless. This is Arjun's nirikshan, Arjun's observation. And what was Duryodhan's observation? Yeah, at any cost, I should get the kingdom. Doesn't matter what is the collateral damage. My focus is on my gratification. This is exactly opposite to Duryodhana and Dhritarashtra's perception. So he says, Lord, I am okay even if you are Madhusudan. Who did you kill? And did you kill your teacher, hmm? Sandipani Muni, or did you kill your grandfather? You killed demons. So you killed the wicked, but why are you telling me to kill my relatives? It's not the same thing. But Arjun was not getting the point. Krishna was not asking him to kill his relatives. Krishna was only asking him to be an instrument in killing his relatives, which Krishna had already accomplished. Yeah. So there he was just asking for courage from Arjun. Arjun, you just be courageous. I've already determined the future. Don't worry. And Arjun is being moral. He's saying that just for the sake of kingdom, it is not good to kill your own family members. This is a very important criticism of blind power. Duryodhana is driven by greed and blind pursuit of power. He is not considering if I'll kill my own relatives. If in fact he is actively seeking to kill his own relatives, the Pandavas. Yeah. He's not looking at any compassion, morality. So, we will see how this perception of Arjun will further evolve into what is Swadharma, what is Atman, what is Krishna's will. All of that will be an extension of the current situation of Arjun when he says, for the sake of kingdom, why should we kill those who are our own people? Yeah, so there is all of this is going on in Arjun's mind. That let's read we read verse 35, right? So he's saying that, yeah, it's no point in killing your own people, even if you gain kingdom. Let's chant Shlok 36. पापम् एवाश्रयेत् अस्मान् हत्वैतान् अत्ययायिनः तस्मान्नारः वयं हन्तुम् धार्तराष्ट्रान् सबान्धवान् स्वजनं हि कथं हत्वा सुखी न स्याम माधव. So now we have come to the third argument of Arjun's refusal to fight, verses 36 to 38, and that is fear of sin. First was compassion, then was loss of enjoyment, and third is fear of sin. So he's saying sin will overcome us if we slay such aggressors. So Arjun knows they are not just Swajana, they are Atatayi. You see the word Atatayinaha? Atatayina means criminals, aggressors. By law, it's okay to kill them. So Arjun knows that justice requires them to be eliminated. Still, he's not accepting to do that. Sin will overcome us if we slay such aggressors. Therefore, it is not proper for us to kill the sons of Dhritarashtra and our friends. What should we gain, O Krishna, husband of the goddess of fortune? And how could we be happy by killing our own kinsmen? So, Atatai is how you define a criminal. If somebody is a murderer, uh, is a hijacker, then they fall under the category of criminals, and criminals are afforded certain punishments. And to give them those punishment is not injustice or is not violence. It's just service of justice. So there are in Vedic understanding, there are six kind of aggressors. One who tries to kill you by poisoning you, one who tries to kill you by setting fire to your house, one who tries to kill you by attacking with deadly weapons, one who plunders your wealth, one who grabs your land, one who kidnaps one's wife. These are all aggressors. Atatai. Killing aggressors doesn't incur sin. So Arjun knew they are aggressors. He is using the word Atatai. So he knows that, the military law allows this. There is no sin. But he's so blinded by attachment that he's not able to discern that in this situation. He was saintly. He wanted to deal with them in saintliness. Yeah. But this kind of saintliness is not for a Kshatriya. If you want to be saintliness in this way, you better be a Brahmana and you better be out of a battlefield. Now you are on the battlefield and now you cannot demonstrate this kind of saintliness. It is just superficial. Just like, if somebody has been trained and trusted to be on the border of a country to defend its borders from the enemy. And there at the time of the attack, the soldier says, how can I kill a human? That's for that there's so much value in life. Then, sir, you should not serve in the military. You should maybe write poetry. Or, there are noble professions as a Brahmana. But if you are there in a certain occupation, you have a certain Swadharma, you are not expected to follow this form of saintliness. It's not for you. Although a responsible man in the administration of a state is required to be saintly, he should not be cowardly. Brilliantly, Prabhupada distinguishes between saintliness and cowardliness. And are you being kind and you forgiving because you are a saint, or are you just coward and you want to escape reality? Lord Ram was an example of such a Kshatriya. He was saintly and he was courageous. Yeah. When Ravana kidnapped Mother Sita, he became an aggressor, Atatai, and Sri Ram taught him sufficient lessons, unparalleled in the history. Okay, but there is an exception. In Arjun's case, the aggressors are also the family members, and Ravan was not a family member. So, what do you do if the aggressor is your own grandfather, your own teacher? So, Arjun is therefore saying that they might be aggressors, but we don't need to take severe steps against them like they are ordinary aggressors. No, they are in a special category. So, we cannot apply the rules that apply to the category of ordinary aggressors. And besides that, let's go beyond the rules of war, beyond the laws of governance. Isn't it always recommended to be saintly and forgiving? Yeah, that is more important than any political instruction and framework. So rather than killing our own people for political gain, let us forgive them on saintly grounds. Such a saintly argument. So Arjun did not consider killing profitable simply for the matter of temporary bodily happiness. He said, what is this kingdom and pleasure derived from the kingdom? They are not permanent. So why should we risk the eternal for the permanent? What is eternal? Your moksha. I'll gain pap, I'll not get moksha. So why should I jeopardize my eternal gain for this temporary gratification? So looks good, right? We will see how Sri Krishna responds. So yes, now we will see different layers of Shastras. Dharma Shastras say, Mahimsayat Sarvabhutani. Yajnavalkya Smriti says that Arthashastratu Balavat Dharma Shastram iti sthitihi. That is, Arthashastras say one should not uh, kill, one should not harm anyone. This is Dharma Shastra. Artha Shastra say one should immediately kill an aggressor and there is no sin. So which one do we follow? So Yajnavalkya Smriti, which I just read, it says Dharma Shastra is considered on a higher category than Artha Shastras. And what do Dharma Shastras recommend? Compassion. What do Artha Shastras recommend? Justice. So compassion supersedes justice. Therefore, killing Bhishma and others, those who are puja arha, worthy of my worship, that is a weaker principle that is coming from Artha Shastra. So I'll not do that because it will implicate me in sin. So fear of sin, we cannot enjoy our kingdom without our own people, loss of enjoyment and compassion. So here, beautifully we see how things are becoming complicated. There are two principles and both are correct. Artha Shastras are correct and Dharma Shastras are correct. Now, which one to weigh? Which carries more weightage? So, do you follow the rules which permit killing the aggressor, or you follow the rules of Dharma Shastra? When teachers, your own family is involved, you follow Dharma Shastra. So, Arjuna is trying to reason morally, legally. Mhm. But one thing he is avoiding is seeing what is Krishna's will. Mhm. And what is my dharma. Except for these two, he is concerned with everything else. So this is the ethical dilemma Arjuna is involved in, where there are competing principles. This is also right, this is also right. What do I do? We cannot just reason our way out of it. We have to seek guidance. Okay, so this is how we understand it. It is depicted through this picture here that the victory will not be meaningful if it is involving killing our own people. If we gain power by destroying our conscience, is it worth it? Yeah. They might be aggressors, but they're also our relatives. So what do we do? So Arjun is is able to diagnose that correctly, that the enemy is blind, but why should we be also blinded? Let us take the responsibility and not act in revenge. They are blinded by greed. Let us not be blinded by greed. We are above them. Let us be the more responsible person and forgive them. Yeah, so he's trying to avoid sin, but the mistake Arjun does is that in thinking that to avoid sin, I must avoid action. That correlation is mistaken. That's not true. Shri Krishna will tell him in the next chapter that, in fact, by avoiding action, you are actually incurring sin because you are giving up your Swadharma. So he is providing all these reasons, but as we saw, he's not cognizant to Krishna's will and his own Swadharma. That is what is creating the problem. Okay, let us look at next verses 37 and 38. यदि अपीयेते न पश्यन्ति लोभोपहत चेतसा कुलक्षय कृतं दोषं मित्रद्रोहे च पातकम् कथं च ज्ञेयमस् अस्माभिः पापात् अस्मान्निवर्तितुं कुलक्षयकृतं दोषं पश्यद्भिर्जनार्दन. O Janardhan, although these men, their hearts overtaken by greed, see no fault in killing one's family or quarreling with friends, why should we, who can see the crime in destroying a family, engage in these acts of sin? Yeah, so they are blind by greed. So they don't see any fault in killing Swajana. But we should not do that. We can see the crime in doing this. So we should not indulge in power. So you remember we saw the principle that a Kshatriya should never refuse a challenge to a battle or to a gambling match. But there is a principle there as well. Yes, and you are under an obligation not to refuse, but what will be the effects of accepting that challenge? If the effects of accepting that challenge are going to be evil, it is okay not to accept that challenge. So as we say, what are the fruits of a particular action? That is more important. So yes, if you're challenged, you should take up the challenge. But if the challenge has negative consequences, then you better not accept the challenge. Then that principle gets subsumed in the higher principle of avoiding negative consequences. Makes sense, right? So beautiful. Obligation is actually binding. When are you obliged to fight or have a gambling match? Obligation is actually binding when the effect is good. But when the effect is otherwise, then no one can be bound. In fact, using this principle, they could have also refused the gambling match, but they didn't. Considering all these pros and cons, Arjun decided not to fight. Arjun is saying we don't have greed, therefore we should not be inclined to committing sin. So they are blinded by greed. They cannot see what is right and what is wrong. We can. So this makes us understand that lobha is not just a wrong desire, it's a wrong perception. When you have lobha, your perception is damaged. You get that? It's not that you are wrongly desiring, it's you are wrongly perceiving reality. So in any sphere of life, personal life, professional life, business, politics, greed leads us to make destructive choices in the name of being reasonable. So greed is actually blinding in all ways. So Arjuna is saying we have a greater responsibility. We should not imitate them. But Arjuna is not able to see that what he's suggesting, withdrawal, that withdrawal is also based on attachment. He's right that you should not act out of greed. But what is his solution? Withdraw. But that withdrawal is also based on attachment. Better than withdrawal based on attachment is action based on duty. That he is missing. He's losing sight of his Swadharma. Okay, so now the last part of this chapter presents arguments of Arjun. The final set of arguments that he's presenting to not fight, verses 37 to 43, is destruction of family traditions. If we fight, family traditions will be destroyed. Therefore, I do not want to fight. So, compassion, loss of personal enjoyment, fear of sinful reactions, and destruction of family traditions. These are the four reasons or arguments Arjun gives to not fight. Let's look at these verses. Kulakshaye pranashyanti kuladharma sanatanaha dharme nashte kulakritsnam adharmo abhivavati uta. With the destruction of dynasty, the eternal family tradition is vanquished, and thus the rest of the family becomes involved in irreligion, right? So this is a very sound argument if you think about it. That Prabhupada says there is Varnashram institution, yeah, and there are principles. Why are there traditions? We are very quick to criticize traditions, but traditions serve a very important purpose. They help the members of the family and therefore the members of broader society also to grow properly. Yeah, to grow and to gain spiritual values. That is the purpose of Varnashram Dharma. And who leads or sets the framework of those traditions? The elders in the family. But if we kill the elders who are all present here, they are elders of the family. If we kill them, the traditions will be lost. They are pure. All the processes of purification will be stopped, and the younger family members will not gain any access to those traditions, and therefore they might end up developing irreligious habits. They might lose the opportunity for growth and gaining values, and therefore they will lose their chance of spiritual salvation. So the society was designed, Varnashram was designed in a way that every member of the society would progress towards salvation. But if that is lost, if we kill the elders of the family, then it will. destroy the whole society. So Kula Dharma, and Kula Dharma means, whatever the tradition of particular family is following. Uh, Arjuna is saying these traditions are Sanatanaha. Sanatanaha Kula Dharma means they have been passed down from generations. And by this war, we'll put an end to a perpetual chain of tradition. Kulakshaya, it will end with them. So this is another layer. One was ethics, morality, humanity, Arthashastra, Dharma Shastra, now tradition. So Arjun is a very eligible and learned character. His confusion is not, very simplistic. It is really complex. So Kula Dharma, let's understand what Kula Dharma is here. Kula Dharma is in a family, you inherit certain practices, certain duties, certain rights, certain values, certain restraints that our family doesn't do this. All of these practices, rituals, values, and restraints, they sustain moral culture. So traditions, family tradition, kula dharma, is what sustains moral culture in society. Because families have certain traditions, certain duties and practices. That is how moral culture is maintained. Yeah. It is not just law, or it is illegal, therefore you cannot do it. In addition to law, there are living traditions which bring morality, ethics to a society. And in fact, justice is based on this. What is justice based on? The conscience of society. Yeah, that is called jurisprudence. Where does law get its power? That the collective conscience of society. What is that? Moral culture. Moral culture is sustained by Kula Dharma. So if we kill these elders, Kula Dharma will collapse. There will be a vacuum. Traditions have vanished. Now there will be a big vacuum. And what do you think will fill that vacuum? Adharma. So I don't want to partake in creating a dharma, therefore I will not fight. Verse 40. अधर्मा विभवात् कृष्ण प्रदूषित कुल स्त्रियः स्त्रीषु दुष्टासु वार्ष्णेय जायते वर्ण संकरः. When that happens, when kula dharma is destroyed, the vacuum is filled by adharma. When irreligion is prominent in the family, O Krishna, the women of the family become polluted, and from the degradation of womanhood or descendant of Vrishni comes unwanted progeny. So if we have to consider the moral health of society, yeah, the moral culture of society, it's based on having good progeny. Having good progeny comes from good culture. So if parents who marry and then beget children, they do it in a atmosphere of culture, then you have good progeny. If family traditions are, destroyed, if adharma has spread, and in that adharmic atmosphere, when you beget children without any samskaras, it is not going to lead to a peaceful society. Yeah. So here, Prabhupada says good population and human society is the basic principle of peace, prosperity, and spiritual progress. And that is why Varnashram was presented, so that good population is invited in this world and peace and prosperity and spiritual progress will prevail, yeah, in the community. So those traditions, as we saw in the previous verse, they require protection. So, this is also, we have to see it from the social logic. This is a logic presented by Arjun. From his, this is a social logic of that time. Family stability, protection of Kula Dharma, generational value training, moral education, all of them is interconnected. Moral science. Did you ever study that? We did. So point is, if This when tradition is not protected, when adharma spreads, when responsibility collapses, everyone acts irresponsibly. Adharma will spread through social relations, and that will lead to unwanted progeny, varna sankara. So it is the responsibility of society to protect this tradition. Live in such a way that brings stability, yeah, and improves the moral health of society. That is how the society should be designed. And Arjun is saying if we have this war, we are actually attacking the whole framework of that, the whole moral structure of society. It is going to lead to chaos, not just now, but even future generations will be affected. And the most vulnerable will suffer first when dharma collapses. So, irresponsible men also provoke adultery in society. So, basically, the point is around responsibility. Yeah, when traditions are lost, when moral culture is lost, the vacuum is filled by adharma. Adharma means lack of responsibility, and lack of responsibility then takes the shape of unwanted progeny. So basically, Arjun is like, really doing this sociological presentation. It's not just about us, it's about the future generations also. Further, Arjun says, what will happen with this unwanted progeny? Sankaro narakayaiva kulagnanam kulasya cha patanti pitaro yesham luptapindo dakakriya. And when there is unwanted population, all the traditions of the family will be lost. Hmm. And an increase of unwanted population certainly causes hellish life, both for the family and for those who destroy family tradition, which is us, Arjun is thinking. When one Varna Sankaran increases, that leads to hell for the family and also for those who destroy the family tradition. Also, the ancestors of such corrupt families fall down because the performances for offering them food and water are entirely stopped. What is that? Pindodaka Kriya, the Pindadan that one generation does to their ancestors, that will become Lupta. Why? Because Kula Dharma will be destroyed. So that the effect will be intergenerational. That if there is unwanted population who are acting from a point of adharma irresponsibly, that kind of social mixture will cause destruction of family. It will lead to hell. And the ancestors will also stop receiving their pindadan. So what is this verse saying? That by killing these people here, one, we are destroying family tradition. Second, we are also destroying the pinda offerings. So this responsibility is across time. Yeah, our action affects not just the present generation, but also the ancestors. You remember when we were seeing the first part where Duryodhan was listing down warriors from both the sides, there were younger generation also mentioned. So there we discussed that if a conflict is not resolved, it implicates the younger generation. Similarly, now we are seeing that if traditions are destroyed, it implicates the previous generations. You see how tight a chain it is. So our action affects our ancestors also. What is Pinda? What is Pindodaka Kriya? Basically, it's an expression of gratitude. And you gave us this beautiful family, our ancestors. So we are expressing our gratitude. We are doing a ritual duty towards them. So when you forget your ancestors, you are losing a part of your moral identity. So, out of gratitude, out of maintaining a moral identity, our Vedic culture encourages to perform Pinda Dan. So basically, it is saying that responsibility is intergenerational. So Prabhupada says yes, according to the regulations of fruitive activities, karma kand, there is a dharma to offer pinda. But what do we offer in pinda? We offer prasad of Vishnu. Because prasad of Vishnu has the power to purify all sins. So, such way when you offer prasad to forefathers, yeah. And who does this? Those who are not in devotional life are required to perform such rituals. So, those who are in the karma category, they should do this as a matter of gratitude, as a matter of continuing moral identity. But those who are already engaged in devotional life, remember adhikar, those who already have the adhikar for bhakti, they are not required to perform such actions. Why? Because you already qualified for something higher. You're already watering the root. Now you don't need to independent separately tend to the leaves and the shoots. By watering the tree, you're fulfilling all your responsibilities. Simply by performing devotional service, one can deliver hundreds and thousands of forefathers from all kinds of misery. And then Srila Prabhupada relates this beautiful verse from the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Devarshi Bhutaptrinam Pitrinam Nakinkaro Nayam Rinicha Rajan Sarvatmanaya Sharanyam Gato Mukundam Pariharitya Kartam. So, Gato Mukundam Pariharitya Kartam, one who has taken shelter of the lotus feet of Mukunda. If somebody has surrendered to Krishna, who is Mukund? The giver of liberation. Who has taken shelter of Mukund, giving up all kinds of obligation, and has taken to the path in all seriousness, owes neither duties nor obligations to the demigods, sages, general living entities, family members, humankind, or forefathers. So all our obligations are fulfilled when we surrender to Krishna. They are automatically fulfilled by the performance of devotional service to the Supreme Personality of God. So, no, this is Arjun's presentation, and he goes on further to say, Dosherethi kulagnanam varna sankara karakahi उत्साद्यन्ते जाति धर्माः कुल धर्मश्च शाश्वताः. By the evil deeds of those who destroy the family tradition and thus give rise to unwanted children, all kinds of community projects and family welfare activities are devastated. So again, community projects means varnashram with welfare projects. So they are all part of varnashram dharma. They are designed to enable the human being to attain his ultimate salvation. Yeah. It is not just about justice, peace, or equality. It's having salvation as its goal. That is the purpose of Varnashram. Yeah. Therefore, the breaking of Sanatan Dharma tradition by irresponsible leaders of society brings about chaos. And as we saw, people have forgotten that the real aim of life is Vishnu. And those who follow such leaders, blind leaders, will also end up in a ditch. So, Jati Dharma and Kula Dharma. Jati Dharma refers to our social duties, Kula Dharma refers to our family duties. So, Arjuna is saying, that violence will destroy all these structures of family, structures of Kula Dharma, Jati Dharma. These structures are through what dharma is transmitted. So if we break down these structures, we are effectively stopping the transmission of dharma. That is so dangerous. So dharma also needs an institution to be transmitted. So if somebody asks, why are you having a society? Dharma should be done individually. No, there was always the idea of jati dharma, kula dharma. Dharma requires institution to be transmitted. It is not just something to be done privately. So therefore, all our ashrams, our communities, our institutions, our societies, they are for the purpose of continuously transmitting values, continuously transmitting dharma. If there are no such structures, then everything will become fragmented. There will be a breakdown of dharmic transmission. Yeah. So, and Arjun then continues, उत्सन्न कुलधर्माणां मनुष्याणां च नारदन नरके नियतं वासो भवन्तीति अनुशुश्रुमा. O Krishna, the maintainer of the people, I have heard by disciplic succession that those whose family traditions are destroyed dwell always in hell. So you see, I've heard from authorities. This is the right way of receiving knowledge. That where the traditions are destroyed, they will dwell in hell. Why? Because there is a concept that these traditions gave us, which is the concept of Prayeshchitta. And we'll study this in the episode of Ajamil. The Yamadutas who had come to capture Ajamil, they said this guy committed a lot of sin and he did not atone for it in his life. So that is the principle. If you don't perform Prayeshchitta to nullify the sins that you commit, if you don't perform a Prayeshchitta in that very life, then one has to be transferred to hellish planets. If you manage to perform Prayashchitta, then you will be saved from the hellish existence. Kula Dharma here refers to both Jati Dharma, Varnashram Dharma. That is the spirit in which the word Kula Dharma is used here. So Arjuna is saying, yes, we should be fearful of hell. We should not blindly reject tradition. So Arjuna is saying, Iti Shushruma, I have heard from authorities. His hearing is good, but his hearing is without guidance and realization. Just hearing, self learning without realization, without guidance can lead to mistakes. So that is the situation of Arjuna. And he continues in the 44th verse. Ato ahobatam mahat papam kartum vyavasita vyayam यद्राज्य सुख लोभेन हंतुम स्वजनम उद्यताः. Alas, how strange it is that we are preparing to commit greatly sinful acts. Driven by the desire to enjoy royal happiness, we are intent on killing our own kinsmen. So Arjun Singh, driven by selfish motive, we might be inclined to sinful acts like killing your own family members. But I don't want to be like that. I am a saintly devotee of the Lord who is conscious of moral principles and who wants to avoid this. 45. यदि माम अपर अप्रतीकारम अशस्त्रम शस्त्र पानयः धातराष्ट्ररणे हन्युस तन्मे क्षेम तरम भवे. So now he's concluding very dramatically. Better for me if the sons of Dhritarashtra, weapons in hand, were to kill me unarmed and unresisting on the battlefield. So, he knows that Kshatriya principles will not allow anyone to attack someone who is not armed. But he's saying, even if they attack me in such a situation, I'll not fight. So it shows how much the other party was bent upon fighting. They'll even break those codes of warfare. So what does Prabhupada say? All these symptoms are due to soft-heartedness, resulting from his being a great devotee of the Lord. So, just mark all these reasons. We will see this getting more color in the next chapter. And Arjuna is saying, if I get killed, I'll consider that to be my prayaschitta. Prayaschitta for what? You have not killed anyone. Just for the thought of killing my own family. That itself is so sinful that if I get killed unarmed, unresisting, I'll consider that a prayaschitta. You see how saintly Arjuna is being. So he, oh, bata, he's expressing alarm. He's accusing himself. He's saying Pandavas also are moved by Rajya Sukha Lobha. So this is very interesting. You have the ability to criticize yourself. So Arjun's nirikshan is not only outward, it is also inward. He's finding fault in them only. He's saying Pandavas are also Rajya Sukha Lobha. Yeah, they are also driven by happiness, kingdom, and greed. That is why they are ready to fight. But I don't want to fight. So his self-questioning is also spiritual. Just because he's on that side, he's not assuming that they are pure. He doesn't have that kind of self, righteousness. Because I am on this side is the best. He can see fault in his side also, but what he cannot see is Krishna's higher purpose. Okay. So he's saying, I'm happy to die like a martyr, Shaheed. I got killed without even attacking. He's ready for that kind of prayashchit. So what he's missing to understand that is that passivity is not always purity. He was so far we were seeing that he's making arguments on non-violence. Now he's making declaration of withdrawal. Till now he was speaking morally, non-violence, non-violence. Now he's saying I withdraw from my duty. So what is going on in Arjun's mind is avoiding action is morally safe for me. If I avoid action, I'll save myself from sin. But he doesn't understand that he's also refusing the divine will. So any injustice is not solved by good people becoming passive. This is the biggest mistake good people do. They think that being non-violent is the answer to everything. No, non-violence also has its implication. When it is guided by dharma, it leads to justice. We'll see this beautifully develop in the second chapter. So before that, let's conclude on the arguments of Arjun regarding destruction of family tradition. He is able to, create such a map that this will trigger an entire collapse of humanity. Kulakshaya, the family unit will be destroyed. That vacuum will be filled by adharma. It will make people vulnerable, go away from dharma, become irresponsible. That will lead to Varna Sankara, social mixture, and that will obstruct tradition, that will offer offerings to ancestors. So it will collapse the entire moral fabric of society. Yeah, so society is held together by these living traditions and communities. And when those who protect these structures and communities, they collapse. So everything becomes fragmented. So this is the loop of social collapse, which Arjuna is presenting as a very strong argument of him not fighting. Yeah. So he's saying, I'm ready to be killed. That will be my price, Chitta. So if you are convinced with Arjun's arguments that, yeah, he's right, he should not fight. Please be ready for Sri Krishna's systematic dismantling of each of these arguments in the next chapter. So this chapter closes with Sanjay's message in the last two verses of this chapter. Sanjay Uvacha Evam Uktarjunam Sankhye Rathopastha Upavishat Vishrajan Sa Sharam Chapam Shoka Samvignamanasa. So this is the last verse. Sanjay is saying, Arjun, having thus spoken on the battlefield, cast aside his bow and arrows and sat down on the chariot, his mind overwhelmed with grief. So please remember where this scene is ending. Shoka. It started with compassion, overwhelmed with compassion. Kripaya Vishtam. But when that Kripaya Avishtam is not guided by wisdom, by Atma Tattva, it ends up in Shoka Samvedana. It ends up in grief. Yeah, so Prabhupada says, uh, while observing the situation of his enemy, Nirikshana, Arjun, when it started, when Sri Krishna placed his chariot in the middle, he was ready to fight. But now he was so afflicted with lamentation that he sat down, set aside his bows and arrows. Prabhupada still continues to say that such a kind and soft hearted person in the devotional service of the Lord is fit to receive self knowledge. So, there's a very important segue Srila Prabhupada is giving to chapter 2. How is this situation making Arjun a perfect candidate to receive knowledge? Yeah, so this the problem is not resolved, it is just suspended. This chapter is ending in suspension. And Arjun became seated, his weapon he gave up, and his mind became full of grief. So he has collapsed. But is it the end? No. It is just an entrance into surrender. Even a crisis is going to become a doorway to surrender. Therefore, this chapter is called Arjun Vishad Yoga. This Vishad of Arjun will lead to yoga, connection with the Lord, which starts with inquiry about the self. So, when will you have curiosity to understand the Atman in such a situation? Not, it'll never occur in the heart of a cruel person. Inquiry about the self will always occur in the heart of a compassionate person, even if that compassion has become bewildered, confused. So, if you're sincere, even a crisis can you, help and lead you into revelation. So, it is a beautiful turning point. The Gandiva has slipped from Arjun's hands, but Arjun is being honest. He's being sincere. So, what will his inquiry and argument lead to? Let us understand in the next chapter. So, what are the main points we took from this chapter is this chapter is presenting a shift from the external battlefield to the internal battlefield. The real battlefield is Arjun's heart or mind. The external is just secondary. Real crisis is happening. The battle is occurring in Arjun's heart and mind. This chapter is teaching that outer conflict becomes meaningful only when you resolve your inner confusion. That is the journey of the Bhagavad Gita. Second thing that we understood is that compassion should be supported by dharma. Otherwise, that you overwhelmed with compassion, kripaya avishtam will end up in shoka samvegana if it is not met with dharma. Yeah, it's good to be compassionate, but your compassion, if it is mixed with bodily identification and fear of sin, it will lead to grief. You should purify your compassion through knowledge, duty, devotion. That is the message. And finally, that crisis is preparing Arjun for surrender. When his own reasoning has peaked, he's saying, I cannot figure it out. Then, chapter 2, we will see Arjun is seeking help from Sri Krishna. Okay. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Krishna Bhagavan ki jai. It went way over time. I didn't realize. Sorry for that.